ਡਾਕਟਰ ਅਲੀ ਕਨਾਨੀ ਆਰਥੋਡੋਂਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਸਰਟੀਫਾਈਡ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲਿਸਟ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਹਰ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਡੈਂਟਲ ਤੇ ਫੇਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਇਰੈਗੂਲੈਰਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਜਾਂਚ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਲਾਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਰੋਕਥਾਮ ਦੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਹਨ। ਸਾਫ਼ ਸੁਥਰੇ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਤੇ ਲੇਟੈਸਟ ਮਸ਼ੀਨਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਦੀ ਟ੍ਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਲਾਜ ਕਰਾਓ ਤੇ 에ਅਰ ਮਾਈਲਸ ਵੀ ਪਾਓ। ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟਿੰਗ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਸਮਾਈਲਸ। ਗਿਲਫਰਡ ਆਰਥੋਡੋਂਟਿਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ 604 599 2212 या लैंगली ऑर्थोडोंटिक्स 604 533 6696।
Some of the decisions which have been taken by this government, especially as far as the strengthening of the military is concerned and the military jets and other infrastructure development, what the government was talking, and the prices which were quoted to the public, and now right now they have also accepted that no, this was not the case. So what do you think the decisions which have been taken by this government, why is it that they're not researching and coming forward and just jumping in?
Well, it's the deception and the cover-up involved with the military jets, I think, is the thing that troubles most people. Everybody realizes we want to have a properly equipped, properly trained Air Force. And the basic equipment that the Air Force has now, which is the CF-18s, are into their last decade of useful life. So by the early part of the next decade, they will need to be replaced. Now, the proper way to do that is, first of all, as a government, you consult with Canadians and determine what your foreign and defense policies will be and what military hardware you will need to deliver on those foreign and defense policies. You lay out the specifications for that equipment, including airplanes. And then you go to a public tendering process where you invite all the aircraft manufacturers in the world to compete for this business. And the government has been proceeding on a sole source contract. They've said, we want this particular plane from this particular company. Nothing else will do. And so we're just going to hand the contract to that company. The experts in the Defense Department say that will cost an extra 20 to 25%. Now, when you're dealing with a contract that's worth 30, 40, 50 billion dollars, an extra 20% is a heck of a lot of money. What they should do here is have an open, tendered process. That's the only way to determine that you're going to get the right equipment at the best possible price with the maximum industrial benefits to Canada. And unfortunately, the government has fouled this up by insisting on having this sole source, non-competitive, untendered contract. It shows massive economic incompetence, and it also shows dishonesty because, as you say, they had two sets of books. They had one set of figures they were releasing to the public and another set of figures that told the truth. And that's not just a political party expressing opinion. That is the condemnation from the Parliamentary Budget Officer, from the Auditor General of Canada, and from the private sector firm of KPMG.
Absolutely. Towards the end, as far as immigration is concerned, if we talk to the government source, and especially Mr. Jason Kenney, he says that the immigration mess which was created by the Liberals, that's what this government is trying to clear. And the changes, fast-pacing changes which have been brought into immigration, what impact that can have? And if you're, as you said, the government is elected the next time, would you reverse all these policies which have been taken by the government?
Well, when we were in charge of this file back in 2003, 2004, 2005, working with the Minister of Immigration at that time, the Liberal Minister, we put in place a program to work on the backlog, to better finance the settlement of newcomers to Canada, to improve the selection process in our consulates and embassies overseas. There were quite literally $1 billion was earmarked for that purpose, which Mr. Harper canceled as soon as he came into office. So the fact that the backlog was there was largely a problem of his creation because he canceled the funding to fix it. The government's approach, it seems to me, is one that is arbitrary and unilateral in terms of dealing with so many immigration and citizenship and refugee issues, where the minister is taking more and more power unto himself to make what really boil down to political decisions, rather than having a transparent and accountable process that Canadians can have confidence in. In dealing with the backlog, for example, his solution to that was just cancel the list. So anybody that had been waiting patiently for their turn in the queue was severely disadvantaged because they just terminated the list and said, "Okay, start over again." Right. Well, that's no way to deal with people fairly. In dealing with refugee issues too, there's a case right now in my home province of Saskatchewan where there's a gentleman that's here from Pakistan. Waiting for his refugee determination. In the meanwhile, he contracted cancer. He was diagnosed with cancer. The federal government has refused to provide him with medical coverage. The provincial government has said, this isn't the Canadian way of doing things. This isn't the Saskatchewan way of doing things. The province of Saskatchewan is picking up the cost for that cancer treatment. But the federal government has said, you're waiting for your refugee decision and you get sick? Well, if you happen to die, that's okay with them. Well, that's not okay with Canadians. That's not the way we treat people in this country. So I think it's that arrogant, high-handed, arbitrary approach that makes people wonder if there's any fairness left in the system. And I think that's the objective we would seek as a new government, to have a process to deal with immigration and refugees and citizenship that is honest, transparent, and fair.
And briefly, before I let you go, there are a lot of people who are not liking the policies of this government, but on the other side, many of those fence-sitters and also those people who were earlier thinking of supporting the Liberal Party are also thinking about the NDP. So why should they come and support the Liberals only?
Well, I would say, quite frankly, watch very carefully over the next 3 to 4 months. We're in a very transparent, very public leadership process. We have 9 strong candidates. Several of the candidates are very exciting, very stimulating. They'll be putting out their ideas. They'll be demonstrating what they have the capacity to do. And when people get from here to April, I think they'll have a very solid foundation upon which to make that judgment and say, yes, for the future of this country, the best way to go, the most inclusive and hopeful and positive way to go is to have a Liberal alternative. And I think the leadership process will help to answer that question.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.